Hello, everybody. This is Buddy Webb, Midland, Texas. Got a little video here this morning. I think you'll find interesting, based off a Facebook post, and it's talking about a capital murder that just happened here a couple days ago, or they charged the guy with capital murder. He hasn't been convicted yet. But anyway, here's the news story from News West 9. It's on my Facebook post. Man broke into home, shooting and killing a woman before shooting himself. So it looked like it, when you read it, that he went in there and he killed her, and then he shot himself in the head, but he survived. So it looked like it was going to be a murder suicide, and except that he survived. But he entered her house without permission, and so because of that, he's charged with capital murder. And I was making a point that carries the death penalty. And that's what I'm gonna name this video, and talk about what makes this a capital attempted murder on my life. And the reason is because they did it during the commission of a felony, of a burglary. They come to my home without permission, and that was what was happening with this woman. The other thing here, talking about a murder suicide. Here, one of the secret police, Chad Simpson, he was involved in allegedly involved in a murder suicide in December 2014, and I made this point before, that a murder suicide, one person's the crime victim. She was home minding her own business. This killer, loaded his gun. He went from his home to her home to murder her. He's a cold-blooded, premeditated killer, right? And she's the crime victim. So basically, he chose for her to die, and then he tried to kill himself, but he survived. Anyway, I did a Facebook post talking about them, making a point that this was a capital murder. Okay, and what I want to show you here is I was laying out some what it was. Here's the guy here. I had 15 mutual Facebook friends with Lonnie Burcham, and this was and so that makes you wonder. I wonder if this murder suicide had something to do with $1 Million Underground Homes, pedophile parties. Maybe she was going to say something. She was going to testify. I don't know. I'm just looking at them, going, look at all these people here, and of course I have 5,000 friends on my Facebook, and many of them I don't know, and so, but it's just interesting. There's a lot of connections to people that from my Facebook list. She had 9 mutual friends. This is the murder victim, the woman that's home minding her own business, and was murdered by this guy. And so that there was the friends. And so I was, taking the screenshots of that and offering condolences, for this violent crime. And so, and I can relate to stories of violent crimes such as this, because I was home minding my own business when some unknown killers decided to sneak to my home and shoot me by surprise. It's a miracle that I'm alive, because if the shot had been a fraction of an inch over, then I would be dead too. See, that was the whole point I'm making. I understand being home minding your own business. Even more than that, I had been reporting burglaries to the police, to the Texas Rangers, to the FBI, telling friends, family. I got criminals breaking in my house. I knew they were dangerous, extremely dangerous, and they tried to murder me. And so here's a clip of me crawling out. The reason I crawled out was because my phone lines were cut. And what I did was lay on top of this, the 911 call that I requested it from the city of Midland, and I got it. And I want you to pay attention to the 911 call, because one thing I've noticed is that it sounds like it started before they answered the phone. And I don't know how they got the recording, how 911 was recording me screaming before they answered. I want you to listen to this, okay? And the other thing is, watch my car lights. You'll see my car lights here. They're actually on when I'm crawling out, and they go off like somebody was in the car and they heard me screaming. Okay, here I'm going to expand that and try to get my sound. There it is. Okay, here we go. What's the car lights? See, it went off. And see, the phone's ringing. phone, they're not answered. So how can they record
With the
it?
911.
See what I'm saying? That was the point I'm making, is how did the city get this recording of me, screaming and yelling and the phone ringing before they even answered the phone for the 911 call? And that has never been answered. And so the question is if it's been falsified, in an attempt to cover up this capital attempted murder. Okay. And so anyways, then I see somebody thought that was funny. I'm like, look, there's a haha on it. I mean, who in the world would think that's funny? Some guy named Richard Russell. Who's Richard Russell? And so I click on Richard Russell right here. And I look at it and I see this cop thing right off the bat, Corpus Christi Police right off here. And his name, this is all public, I'm not a friend. He's got this listed for the people in the public. So I'm going through, I'm taking screenshots of, in case he has something to do with the murder attempt or the pedophile parties or something like this. I'm like, look at this, Texas Highway Patrol, trooper. What if this guy's a cop, and he thinks breaking into private homes and murdering people's funny, I'm really like, I couldn't even believe that. And so one thing I did is I did a Facebook post here called, I was explaining, capital attempted murder is life in prison, and capital murder carries the death penalty. You don't keep those crimes secret for anybody. And one reason I make the point of that is, and I go through here on this Facebook post, is that absolute and undeniable evidence shows that I wasn't shot with my gun, which means that somebody come to my home and shot me. There's nobody that can deny that. I mean, that's all there is to it. I had just reported a suspected tunnel to DEA. That can't be considered an accident. It's not self-defense, as I didn't even know that person was under my home at the time. They planned on killing me inside my home. As I said a minute ago, if the shot was a fraction of an inch over, they would have been successful and I'd been dead. And they cut my phone lines to kill me. That's why they stole my cell phone and cut my phone lines. And as I've shown before, I believe Detective Rosa Rodriguez knew that because she got caught on camera planting my stolen cell phone, along with April Chandler. Okay. Here we go. Okay, so we know it's an attempted murder, but what makes it capital? And that's the whole point of this video. What makes it capital? In Texas, an attempted murder is done during the commission of a felony. Then it becomes capital. The felony was the burglary of habitation. This would be different if they'd shot me in a park, but they chose to sneak into my home to do it. Evidence was found showing that a burglar got trapped in my guest bathroom when I had tie-wired my door shut after realizing that somebody had been in my home again. I had been reporting burglaries to police for over a year. The trapped burglar may have been the motive for murder. Okay, so I was reporting, all these crimes, and what I didn't know is they got $1 million underground facility, or $4 million underground homes. They're using them for pedophile parties and for the famous also prostitution parties, forced prostitution where the girls are murdered, etc. It looks like one's in my backyard. Okay. And so here we go. Yeah, but only the shooter gets charged, right? That's a question I was being, making a point here. I said, no. The law of parties says if multiple people break into a home and one of them shoots the homeowner, all of them are charged as if they pulled the trigger too. Look it up. That means that all of the people with the shooter could be charged with capital attempted murder. And the ex-wife told me that a lot of people were in the underground home in the backyard. Here's how I worded that. A lot of people were in my underground home in the backyard when this happened. Were they witnesses to this violent crime, or were they accomplices? And that's the big thing, because if they were there here at my house and they just witnessed a capital attempted murder, then they have to report it by law. They're required to report it by law, but if they're trying to hide it, cover it up, spread lies about me, then obviously they're an accomplice. They were working with the killers that loaded their guns and came to my home to murder me inside my own home, and that makes it a capital crime, and it carries the death penalty, or since I didn't die, just life in prison. So I Googled this. Y'all can Google it. Texas has what's called law of the parties. It's governed by, this Texas Penal Code, etc. It says that if the person solicits, encourages, directs, aids, or attempts to aid the person to commit the offense, then they criminally liable as sure. That's true. Okay, so what if you stole evidence? Well, I guess that would be aiding them, wouldn't it? What if you intentionally spread lies about the crime victim to cover up this capital attempted murder? Well, I guess that would be, And so, interestingly, here was the name of this website right there. But I didn't do anything. And that's what the whole point of it is. It don't matter if you were just with the person that pulled the trigger, because your job, once you witness a violent crime, is to report it, And if you don't, then they can charge you with failure to report, or they could come back and charge you with the capital attempted murder, because the law of parties says if you were here, if you were in my underground home or whatever, right? And that was in the backyard, that's believed to be in the backyard, okay? And here, my next post, it sounded like a large party was going on when one of the criminals got trapped inside my home during the burglary. So other criminals came up with a plan to murder me, and now everybody can be charged unless they report this very loud and clear. And that's the point I'm making, of course, let's say they were just here, they were just here for a sex party, swingers party, or whatever, was going on underground at the time, that oil show party, whatever. But once they decided to go murder that little girl that didn't want to prostitute, whatever, they're part of it. Here in my situation, this is my property. This is my home. You see where that shows that bunker? What that is, if you go to Google Maps and you look up 3802 Fair Circle, Midland, Texas, and you switch between the map and the satellite view screen, then you can see in my backyard looks like there's a large facility or bunker, but you look at the satellite screen, it's not there, okay? And so, check that, look at that yourself, you'll see that. And I've got multiple people documented saying there's underground homes here, and it looks like you can see it on Google Maps. One of them is in my backyard. I believe that's where the mole show parties were going on, and that's where that little girl was murdered in 2010. And then I also was told by the ex-wife, in so many words, a lot of people were here on the night that I shot. So I believe they were once again in this underground home, and it's on my property. So it's it is my property, right? They chose to load their guns and come to my property. I don't know how many it was, but she said what she said was, you don't know how many lives you ruined, by staying home and surviving a murder attempt. That's how I ruined lives, was because I crawled out and lived. And so here I got a woman recorded saying there's 4 3-bedroom underground homes here. Rhonda Denman Rogers says another underground home's a half block away. Layla O'Brien said she worked on this project. Cost $7.35 million, called the Safe House Project. And even recent candidate for sheriff, Joe Lozano, I'm telling him about all this evidence, and he told me that was the underground facilities was the hideout for the late Sheriff Painter, and I was secretly recording his phone call. I bet he would never say that if he knew it was I was recording it, but it's legal in Texas. You can do that. One person needs to know the recording's going, and I was the person. I knew it, and so. And then also I went on and made a point. And I said, what does it mean there's no statute of limitations? And that means you can be charged 20, 30, 50 years later. So if you've been protected by corrupt public, officials, by corrupt police, whatever, it's okay to murder Buddy in his home because we got dirty cops helping us. No, it's not okay. It's illegal. It's always been illegal. It will remain illegal. It's a crime, capital, because it's capital. There's no statute of limitations. Sooner or later, the wheels of justice will turn. Sooner or later, rule of law will finally return, and this unprecedented lawlessness is going to end, Sooner or later, somebody out there is going, no, you can't break into homes and kill people, And so that might explain why free press in America has been stopped after a large group of corrupt police were accidentally caught on camera covering up a premeditated capital attempted murder. It makes you wonder how many times they've done this and not been caught. That's a real fair question. These are the pictures of the secret police. They tried to disable that camera, and it's about the time I was in surgery. This is the one where you see Rosa Rodriguez leaned over my nightstand here in one of these pictures coming up. right there. She's leaned over my nightstand. I believe she's planting my stolen cell phone. The cell phone that was there. She is again right here. And they withheld the police report for this night. The only reason we knew that they were in here in this house is because they accidentally started that camera when they tried to disable it. They were trying to cover up this failed murder. Okay, and so I think that the other thing I want to show you, I have a video called During the Commission of a Felony. And the reason I name that is because that's what makes this a capital crime. Is because, as I explained before, if you try to attempted murder during the commission of felony, then it becomes capital, and then, like I said, it carries the death penalty, carries life in prison, etc. Okay, and so I had been reporting burglaries, and there was a burglary going on. Burglary is a felony, okay, and there's no doubt about that, okay, and so here, this is a picture from my guest bathroom inside the door. I've made videos inside here before. And it's inside the room looking down the hallway. My bedroom's on the right hand. And what happened on the day of the murder attempt, I recognized that somebody had been in my house again, a burglary, a felony. It was going on, another felony. And I got the idea to tie wire my spare door shut. Okay. And so, I spent a couple hours, doing this. I was trying to compartmentalize my house. The ex-wife had already told me there was a trap door here somewhere, and I didn't know where it was, and that's why I was trying to compartmentalize my house, and I felt like I was pretty much on my own here. I'd already, by that time, I'd already called the police, the Texas Rangers, the FBI, and I've still got these crimes going on against me. These, and we know now these are armed and dangerous criminals. Okay, and so after I returned from the hospital, what happened was that day I trapped a burglar in that room. But I didn't know it, and that might have been the motive for murder, because instead of like corrupt police were working with the burglars that are rigging homes and breaking homes to steal services from homeowners. Well, if they arrested them, it's going to expose the underground homes. It's going to expose the tunnels and the forced prostitution and the murder of the last homeowner and the murder of the little girl and all the other homes that are rigged like this one. I mean, the whole thing is, it's just going to domino on them. So they can't, as if they're, let's say there's corrupt police involved, which there are, then, that's the situation they're in. If they go arrest this burglar for the felony, then it's going to expose all the crimes that they're involved in, And so I think them or people working with them came up with the idea to murder the crime victim. And that's the irony. Here I am, the good citizen that's reporting crimes to law enforcement, trying to make the community safer, and we got corrupt police here that are committing the crimes against the citizens, right? I mean, isn't that ironic if, here I'm, risking my life to report these criminals, these burglars that are breaking into homes, and police who are working with them burglars and the criminals that are breaking into homes, Anyway, when I returned from the hospital, I found pry marks on the top of the inside door jamb, and I'd painted the whole house. So I knew that had happened. And because I tie wired that door shut, then I knew somebody had been trapped in that room. And this door, the hinge was torn off, where they pried it off. And I made videos about that before, but it was really clear, hard evidence that I had trapped a burglar on the day of the murder attempt. And I think that might have been the excuse to murder me. Because if you remember, like that Officer April Chandler said, Mr. Webb showed paranoia to the extent that he caused himself to suffer a gunshot wound. And I think what that is Mr. Webb figured out he was under a home invasion. His life was in danger. He had criminals breaking into his house, and he tie-wired his doors. And that was her, I think, what she was trying to say. Because Mr. Webb tie-wired his doors, then we, the police, needed to sneak under his home and cut his phone lines and try to kill him, or whatever. Mr. Webb caused this. No, Mr. Webb was home minding his own business. Mr. Webb is a crime victim. I was under a home invasion. Criminals, armed and dangerous criminals, were breaking into my home. And so here's the nurse's notes minutes after I'm shot, and basically it's showing sirens going off. I told Detective Rodriguez proof is at my house, and they went and stole the proof. And the proof was a voice recorder that was recording the burglar alarms going off, proving I was shot during a burglary, right? And that's why that's why it was stolen, that voice recorder. It was later returned about 2 years later after I made a point of it being stolen. But here, I tie wired my cabinet shut, And another guy, he made a point on it, is keep your doors tie wired shut, it'll slow them down. And he's the guy that told me, he said, buddy, cops can kill you and get away with it. Stop publicizing their business and you go buy you another home. And, so what that's telling me is, it was cops that tried to murder me and that they're doing it to steal property. Because if they don't want you living in your home, they're going to murder you. If you don't sell your property for the price they say, then they're going to murder you. That's how I take it. That's how you take it. The other last thing about this picture, last year I'm here at the FBI office under the advice of Homeland Security. And I'd already told them that I had recorded an FBI agent that told me he was shredding evidence and, that was over multiple murders, but they're not all dirty. They're not, a whole new group of guys. I go down there, this FBI agent, he won't even give me his name. What's your name? Dude, just call me duty agent. Yeah, but what's your name? Duty agent. But what's your name? Duty agent, So duty agent, he pulls up this picture on his phone while I'm sitting there talking to him, right? And I didn't tell him where it was at. I didn't even tell this story. He knew about the trap burglar already. And why would he pull up that picture? Because I think he knows that police were involved, and that was the excuse that this burglar during the commission of a felony was trapped, and then maybe some corrupt police used that in their capital attempted murder. And maybe the reason this story, Free Press, has stopped is because we could have a dozen police looking at life in prison if rule of law returns. But we have to have rule of law. The truth must come out. This is Buddy Webb. Talk to you later.